Alrighty, pretty typical thing to cut, apple cut. Let's go the standard 4 pieces. Now this is the crossroads here. Do you go ever decreasing size, or do you get 2 pieces that size and then one really thin piece? I do the second one. Variety of pieces, and sometimes even do a cheeky one of these. There you go. You get 5 pieces of apple, sometimes even 6. Yeah. Bushcraft my carrot.
Ooh, who wants bacon? Who wants bacon? Oh, little Lord Fauntleroy loves his little bacon. More bacon, please, Daddy. No.
Hey my friends, today we are reviewing this kitchen knife from the company that still chooses to call itself Smeg. Yes, that's their name and they're sticking to it. So Smeg, the company that sells rather expensive kitchen countertop appliances that proudly say Smeg on them, has this knife. I got this knife because this is currently the sort of trade-in receipt points and get one after a few purchases at Coles. Coles and Woolworths are in Australia our kind of big evil duopoly of supermarket chains. What are your big evil duopoly supermarket chains in your country? Leave a comment below and let me know. So here, yep, Coles and Woolies always trying to get people into their shop, sort of competing with each other. They're both, anecdotally horrible to deal with as farmers and as producers. As customers, they are known to just be dreadful and hike prices up, and all about the shrinkflation, all about the massive sort of corporate greed, all that sort of stuff. So in short, fuck both these companies. But here is a knife that you can get at Coles if you trade in your points. What everyone in my area seems to do lately is do their main shop at Aldi, which I'm sure is a company that has its problems. But everything at Aldi is, pretty safe to say. And I've done many shops. I've done the exact identical shops pretty much at Coles and then done at Aldi. Aldi is about 2/3 cheaper across the board. So as long as you're happy with your chips and your, the packets saying a slightly different or off-brand looking thing, the part of the food that you don't eat. The food inside the packets is probably made in the same fucking factory as the stuff you buy at Coles. But yeah, as long as you're happy to have cereal that's called Power Grain instead of Nutri-Grain, which I am because I'm not 12 and don't care about that sort of thing, then definitely do what most people seem to be doing in my area. You shop at Aldi and then you go across to Coles or Woolies and get the stuff that they didn't have at Aldi, because Aldi has that weird sort of like market thing where they don't always have absolutely everything. But I still maintain you can do a pretty good basic food shop, get your main meals done. As long as you do a little meal planning, get your main meals done at Aldi. And then, yeah, if you like a certain brand of something that only makes a product that's only in that brand, then yeah, you might have to like suck it up and hold your nose and go into Coles or Woolies. That's how it works here anyway. What a sidetrack, what a take. But, anyway, here we are with the Smeg knife in our hands. People in my family obviously still shop at Coles. So, you can't change everyone's mind. And at Coles right now, if you trade in your points, yes, you can get a Smeg knife. And what I'm doing here today is I'm reviewing the Smeg knife and seeing if the Smeg knife is any good or if it is truly a pile of Smeg.
What does Smeg mean?
So, yes, this company has survived the show Red Dwarf. I guess they won the war. And lost a few battles along the way. Red Dwarf is, I guess, no longer on television, and Smeg still proudly putting the name Smeg on everything. So I guess they won. So I should probably slow my roll a bit. Anyway, this kitchen knife, it comes in this box. I don't know if you can get this anywhere else aside from at Coles in this sort of promotional way at the moment. I see on the US site, they sell this in a knife block that's like $625.
Pardon me?
With like only 3 other knives in it.
Telling me dreaming.
That sounds crazy to me because whilst this doesn't seem like a bad knife, it's made of 4116 steel, which is a fine kitchen steel, but it's not a, $200, or $150 per knife kitchen steel, for sure, especially $150 per knife. 1.4116 is like a Tyson Krupp, very basic, that's the brand of steel, very basic kitchen knife steel that is, seen pretty wide use and recently sort of entered pocket knives via Cold Steel, the company. We obviously saw that has some decent sort of lower end but good qualities to put in like their budget knives. So you started getting things like the $60 and under Cold Steel knives made in 4116 for a while. I think they've gone even lower now to 4034. But anyway, it did appear in pocket knives for a while, but it is very much a traditional European kitchen knife steel. Most European kitchen knives you're going to get in something like either 440C or XCR 50 Chromo VA or something like that, or you're going to get it in 4116. So it's a fine kitchen steel. It's certainly not like ZDP 189, HAP 40, even I would say not as good as VG10, but those are steels that you generally get in your Japanese kitchen knives. This very much European-ish. I think Smeg is an Italian company, I believe. So it sort of tracks, even though this knife is no doubt made in China. Let me see. Yeah, made in PRC. So, alrighty. So there we go. So the Smeg kitchen knife, how does it feel? Well, I chopped a bunch of food, fruit, veggies. I cut up my moldy old onions. I cut up carrots. I cut up apples. All the stuff that you would cut up with a kitchen knife. And I can certainly vouch for the initial state that it comes in being a quite good overall general kitchen utility knife. It is certainly on the more robust side, which is sort of what you want from a overall kitchen utility knife. We all know that this knife is often going to be the one that's sitting on the bench when you come home with the thing in the blister packet that you just go, screw it, just grab that knife and open it. So it's got things that sort of support it in that role as well. Things like a slightly duller or, more rounded over tip, so not a super fragile tip that has just a little bit more meat behind it, so you're not likely to sort of clang it on a pot in the sink and knock the tip off or anything like that. It's got a thicker spine. It's probably like 2.5 millimeter thick spine. Not too bad. It's got a little bit of flex in it, but not a great deal. Definitely sort of like your rigid Taskmaster sort of chopping multi-purpose larger kitchen utility blade. This is their 7.5-inch blade. I think they do some other lengths as well. The handle is sort of like the one piece, just an extension of the blade steel, probably with a bit of an air bubble in it, but it's got a little bit of weight to it as well. So I would say it's probably thicker steel here. I don't think you'd be able to smash this flat or anything. It seems like it's pretty well made, pretty sturdy, and the weight is definitely in the handle, like no worries at all. So that makes for a pretty wieldable kitchen knife. In a kitchen knife, I like to have a heavier handle and just to feel like I can really sort of wave and move the blade around fairly well without it sort of feeling heavier and like blade chopping sort of heavy. And that's just me. Some people like a sort of cleaver style knife that has like more of a santoku that has a heavier blade all the way down to the tip that does sort of lean a bit forward into the food. This guy here feels very much just like a nimble little kitchen knife, which with a large blade, I think they have sort of counterweighted the handle on purpose. So what I'm saying is there has been a little bit of thought go into this design. It doesn't seem like it's just a pure, like make it for the free giveaways kind of thing. So pretty happy with the overall feel of the knife. What I'm going to test in this channel, and this is going to be a quick video because I am not a kitchen knife expert. All I can say is that I use a kitchen knife probably much like you do. Every now and then they open a box of something. Every now and then they go through the dishwasher. Sorry, but they do. And yeah, it's just going to be like a pretty much average lad review. So that's why it's not going to be the longest thing in the world. But what I can do is review the steel a bit better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut test it with the factory edge. Haven't used this part of the knife, so I'm going to cut test it with this part, see how much rope it cuts before it no longer slices a held sheet of paper, and then sharpen it up and see how I feel about it after a sharpening. And overall weigh in after all these clips you're going to see with my final thoughts. It does come very sharp, so that's good. So we're going to cut rope with this flat part here. I'm going to try and emulate the same cut I usually do, but I can't guarantee it's going to be the same. Kitchen knives, probably don't compare it directly to many of my other sort of knife tests. It is definitely going to be a slightly different cut because I've already used up the front belly portion a little bit on food and just general use. So there we go. It's just a bit of a rough showing of how the 4116 steel performs. Alright, so 150 passes through, pretty rough twisted sisal rope. The knife now has like a dull point where it now stops while I'm doing a paper cut. So that's where I stop and edge test traditionally. That is pretty comparable with what sort of a decent edge on this steel would be expected to do. I wouldn't have a clue what the hardness is. I would say they've gone pretty safe. 58 or something, 59 maybe. Pretty standard, for a knife they're giving away for free. It can't be that flash, you wouldn't think, but look, overall that's a pretty good result, and that equates to a lot of food. Of course, kitchen knives, they get, they clang up against forks, all that sort of stuff, so they're not always going to be cutting, monotonous testable materials. But yeah, overall I would expect a good decent time between sharpenings for a blade in this steel, for this this amount of edge you've got to spend over however long you're using to cut as well. I would say you shouldn't be visiting the sharpening stone too often with this Smeg knife. Alrighty, so I'm going to sharpen it now. I'm going to see how I feel about it. Well, I'm going to dull it first, and then I'm going to sharpen it and see how it feels to sharpen, bring it all the way back. So that'll be the last bit of the film. So let's do that now. How does that feel, Bricky? Been a while, huh?
Every interaction with you feels like when you wave back at somebody and realize they were engaging with the person behind you.
Ooh, sorry mate, gave you a bit of a haircut.
Smeg head.
Definitely sucks. I mean, the geometry is always going to do it some favors, but yeah, let's resharpen it on some Japanese water stones. I think that'll be nice. Yes, or some wet stones. Yes, some splash and go stones. That'll be good. Yes, nice. Yes, yes. First stone, 320 grit, soaks up water a little bit. Does the initial edge shaping. So this is where you kind of set your actual angle. Really thirsty stone sometimes. Forms a burr very easily, as expected from a lower end steel. So happily, I can just move through the stones quite quickly. Rockstar 500 is next, which is, spoilers, a 500 grit stone. Probably not necessary entirely, but I quite enjoy this, so there we go. Splash and go. I just use my thumb width really for my angle setting. Seems to work for me. $1,000 grit Kurumaku. That might mean nothing to you, but that's the model of the sharpening stone made by a company called Sharpening. Still, like all the others, just splash water on the top. You don't need to soak them, and then you get going. Moving on to the Sharpening Glass 2000 stone, which is 8,000. Oh, handily, it's in my little holder. No, that's the Rockstar. There we go, Sharpening 2000. Splashy, splashy. Wipey, wipey. Still a bit of steel residue on there. Probably should have a bit of a crack at getting that off. from this point on, we really are just polishing, honing, getting a nice, finely tuned edge. Oops, skipped to stropping, sorry. I took a phone call from my lovely wife, and it wouldn't let me film and talk at the same time, so it sharpened through a conversation. But anyway, we've gone just through 5,000 and 8,000 grits. I was doing the same stuff you saw me doing. So we're just stropping now. Last little step, strop on the soft side and then a couple of passes on the hard side of the strop. Very gentle, just to correct any minor issues. These softer steels, sometimes they have a few little hangers on, so a good strop gets that sort of thing off. Paper cut test. Gosh, the amount of shredded up bits of paper I got around here, I tell you. Beautiful. Back to glidey sharp once again. So yeah, very easy. That was probably an overall 10-minute sharpening job on stones. Very easy to sharpen as you would want your knife to be. So cool. So look, overall, I would say pretty good kitchen knife, especially if you're like, this is marketed for people in the circumstance you will find it, how it looks, everything. It's marketed for probably folks who have a kitchen knife, they use it until it's so badly dull that they hate it, and then they might try it on a pull-through sharpener or one of those like knife blocks that has the pull-through in it, and be like, this knife still sucks. Then just throw the knife out and then get a new one. Like it or not, that's how a lot of people engage with kitchen knives, so it's definitely going to be great for those folks. But even if you do put a bit more thought into your kitchen knife and this ends up being like one of yours, I think you'll enjoy it. I think it's fine. It's probably not going to replace my Shun. I just like that knife a little bit more. But yeah, overall, I can't knock it. I really can't, especially for like $0. I mean, it sucks you have to go to Kohl's to get it, but apart from that, there's nothing really I could say going against this thing. So, Smeg, good on ya.